This is Henry Masambaga Mung'asia. Henry Masambaga Mung'asia, I attended his funeral. I wanted to pay my tribute to him. During his funeral, I was given a chance twice to condole with him. But again, when I was given chance, you see the tension, people are pulling, hey, maliza haraka, ongea nini. I think I should have an occasion to free to talk about him. Before I start talking about him, he has been asking me regularly. He had been asking me regularly about the book that up to today has not been printed. He was asking me, kitabu imefika wapi? Then mid-September, I can't remember the day actually, in mid-September, he asked me where has the book reached, and I told him I met somebody, a publisher, who is interested in it. And then suddenly I went to the laptop, to the page that had mentioned him, and screenshot that page and sent it to him. In that page, I had said, I don't know why, for over 5 years he had been asking me, kitabu imefika wapi, kitabu imefika wapi. But this time, I just suddenly decided to show him where I have mentioned him, and I've mentioned him as the best DO I've ever worked with. And I said the second best DO was John Christopher Munguti. So I showed him that. 6 weeks after he had read that, he was dead. So he went to heaven knowing that some of us, we are given credit when we are dead, but he went to heaven with information from me that in my book I had said he's the best DO ever. We went to the same primary school with him, although he did his primary CPE. He did his CPE 1971, and I did my CPE 1975. So he was quite ahead of me. We went, you know, Standard 4 kid and Standard 7. Standard 7 are way far ahead. So he went to Kakamega High. And then later on, we met in West Pokot. When we met in West Pokot, we had a Land Rover which used to pick special branch officers at night at 11 when the bus were closed and we would be taken home. So there's a time when people are boarding the Land Rover, there was the people used to insist that special branch officers first of all enter the Land Rover and then other people come. So here were people just lining up silently waiting for special branch to get position, and then they board the Land Rover. But one of us came and pinpointed a very quiet person, a very humble person, seated and said, look here, this is a DO, not just a DO, DO1. And you see, he was just quiet there in the corner waiting for us to feel as constables and him a DO1. He was waiting for us to feel so that if there is an opposition, he can be carried. And he sort of became embarrassed. He's somebody who never wanted to be glorified, if I can say that. So he went, an inspector was told to get out of the Land Rover in front, and the inspector sat with us in the back. It touched me. I wanted to know who this person is. I later made investigations, and I was told that he was the DO Kacheliba of the substantive rank of DO1. So I was told he was of a substantive rank of the D1. So we became close. And something I noticed about him was during those days is that when we were drinking in a disco, he never danced. He never talked to people, and they knew him, and they used to give him a table there. So he just stay there, listen to music. I remember in his obituary there was even a picture of him dancing where somebody said, "You say he doesn't dance. Here he is, he's dancing." But you know what? He was dancing with his wife in that obituary. So I used to see him sit aside and whatever, and drink a lot. He would drink a lot, beer. He used to like a whiskey called Bolshoi. So he would drink and smoke. Yeah, hey, this fellow could smoke. Eh? So when he was smoking, there was something I noticed. There are 3 or so songs that are called Isabella. There was Isabella by Bopol Manziamina. There is Isabella. There's several songs by called Isabella. When those songs could sing, that is when I used to see him dance, and he would dance solo. So when I noticed that, and when he danced, he would go back to his seat and start drinking. And if you are near there, he would buy you beer. Santa Isabella na kombo ya zambe mokonzingayo kelaye. Yeah, such songs. But all the songs were called Isabella. So I noticed that he liked the song Isabella. So I would sneak slowly and go to the DJ and give the DJ some money. After giving the DJ some money, the DJ would play 3 songs. 3, is it 3 or 2? I can't recall. That was early 80s. And this fellow would dance the 3. Then by the time he goes to sit, I'm seated near there. It was a tactic of getting alcohol from Henry Masambaga Mung'asia. So we became friends. We became so close that he encouraged me whenever I did my police inspectorate or police law exams. He encouraged me, and I did and passed. Then one day I asked him, now I've cleared the inspector. He told me, why don't you attempt the administration officer's exam? I said, me try administration officer's exam? I'll never be a DO. And he told me that according to government regulations, any civil servant can do those exams. And once you pass, like the police inspector's course, you pass, you are not promoted to inspector. Actually, it was even renamed later police law exams. But in government departments, if you pass, I don't know whether it is still that way today, but those days, if you passed the administration officer's exam, then you would be promoted to a job group equivalent to a DO. So he encouraged me, knowing that not only was I a police officer, but I was an NIS person, but he encouraged me. He even gave me notes, and he used to, imagine, I would wait until he was at Kacheliba. So whenever he would come from Kacheliba, he would come and coach me and give me assignments so that we meet the next time he would come back. And I noticed another thing he did is he also encouraged a certain DO to do the exams. And once the DO had passed the exams, the district commissioner, Peter Kibiego Lagat, wrote a warning letter to that DO. But then there's a time I was even asking the Henry Mung'asia, now that he has passed the exam and the DO has, imagine the DO was a Form 2 person, but he was writing a warning letter to a DO who was a graduate. The DC was trying to discourage graduate DOs, and here Henry Mung'asia was encouraging graduate DOs. So I asked him now that a bad letter has been written on his file and whatever. how will it be? Said the Kenya Gazette that came next after the warning letter was promoting that DO who had passed exam to the next job group. So he told me that the DC's letter was just karatasi ya kujaza file. From there, we went on our ways, and then later on, a few years later, I was transferred to Mandera. When I was transferred to Mandera, I remember when I was transferred to Mandera, I was at the DC's place, and I met him. He was smartly dressed in a white shirt. The DOs had a white shirt, and we talked. And he told me that he was the DO a place called Ram. I told him I was going to be taken to a place called Takaba. I was going to be taken to Takaba. He listened to that and said, no. And you know, the DC, Mandera, was a schoolmate of mine. Not a schoolmate, actually. The DC was called Ole Mosiani. Ole Mosiani was in Olkejuado High School. By then it used to be called Olkejuado Secondary School, OSS, and I was at PBS Kajiado. So we knew each other with Ole Mosiani, and we could meet, the three of us, the DC, Mung'asia, and myself. So DC would tell Mung'asia, I used to be with him in Kajiado, then I handed him over to you in Mbagathi Road Primary School, so we could laugh. And then the DC and Mung'asia went and saw my boss and said, there is no way they are going to allow a senior officer, an inspector of police, to be taken to Takaba. Do what you want to do. And then my boss told them, you kwa Tenge akilewa na kuwaga mchokozi sijui nini. And they said, I'll take care of him. They said, okay, I'm taking him to Ramu. I don't want him here. I want him to. So that is how I ended up in Ramu. Ending up in Ramu, that is when he introduced me to his wife. The wife looked at me and said, do you have a sister called Lilian Haoya? I said, yeah. We were with her in Kaimosi. So we became so close. And I was staying in a rented room, just not far from the police station. By then it was a police post. So one day, Henry Mung'asia came and visited me to that room. You know how embarrassed you become when you stay in a very small room, visitors are coming. Say, hata sijui nitatafuta nini. And he's a very senior person. So he just looked me into the eye and said, when are you moving? I said, moving where? I'm staying in this room, I'm paying 150 shillings and I get 1,300 house allowance. So I said, no. I'm going to send a lorry to pick your things to take to your new residence. In his compound, there's a house which had been built. In his compound, there's a house that was built for the DO. When Ram was made a division, people had an Arambe and they built a house for the DO. But later on, because it was a gazetted DO, a gazetted division, the government, through the Ministry of Works, built built a HG, higher grade house for him. And so there is some people, subordinate staff who were staying there. He chased them and said, mkubwa anakuja kuishi hapa. We have had contacts back when I was a constable in West Pokot, Ngorokos attacking us. And we also had contact with shifters at a place called Wargadud. And you see, Mung'asia was very funny. He was very quiet. Took a lot of beer. Na ile kalikali bolsoi. And smoked a lot. But talked very little. So you go there, bwana muna. You shoot each other. You shoot. You come out. The first thing you do after taking your gun to the armory, you meet anybody. Say, hey bwana, uko. Was we were passing our gadud, tumekutana na contact na shifter. Nowadays shifters are called Al-Shabaab. Mekutana na Al-Shabaab, tumetandika sijui nini nini. Somebody say, hey. Then the person leaves you. He goes and meets Mung'asia. Say, unajua Regedudu kulikuwa na contact sijui nini. And he's smoking. He was a chain smoker. He would sit there, listen to that person. I said, oh, but the person telling him does not know that he was in the front in that Land Rover. Liwa ezalin zelea motonyoso. That is what Congolese say, and Luhya say, Liroba Sidikonanga Injalata, but that is a great man. My biggest privilege, especially to him, was 6 weeks before he died. 6 weeks before he didn't know he was going to die. I didn't know he was going to die. You see, and then he asked me, how is your book? And I told him, I've found somebody who is ready to publish it, and here is where I've talked about you. He died and is buried knowing that I have praised him in the book that even today is yet to be published. Thank you.